doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
So, as my good colleague mentioned, my name is Dr. Hubert Danso. I'm the CEO and Chairman of Africa Investor. I have the privilege of chairing the African Union's Continental Business Network, as well as the African Pension and Sovereign Wealth Fund Summit. I think you might gather from some of those titles that we spend a lot of time really trying to bring the private sector, in particular the institutional investment community, who we believe have incredible and immense promise to enable the continent to turn the tide in this whole issue of mobilizing private capital at scale. And through the likes of the work that the good CEO, the assistant from African Development Agency, has put in place through the 5% agenda, we now have a framework under an institutional investor-public partnership to actually be able to do the speed. The speed that we're talking about is essentially a collaboration between private capital and public and institutional leaders. So we're very grateful to you, Honourable CEO, for your leadership. We continue to walk side by side with you on this, and I think the difference now between talking about scale and making pledges is perspective and direction. And the idea of this particular panel is not to have an illusionary, where are the trillions, do they exist, can they be leveraged from existing traditional sources, but to engage the trillions. And I can confidently tell you that that's what this panel represents. This panel represents the trillions. This panel represents institutions that have a long-term and a long-standing commitment and belief in Africa as a transformative catalyst that will not only transform the continent, but also become a real player in terms of decarbonizing the world at industrial scale. And we think the framework to accomplish that is an African investment Earthshot. An African investment Earthshot is no different in many respects to the thinking and the principles driven by the global investment Earthshots. And I think, as the Honourable Chairperson and the CEO has already said, the way has been shown to us in terms of how the United States have delivered their own investment Earthshot, called the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act in the last 12 months, in September, they did a stock take. Within that 12 months, they mobilized $500 billion, which is essentially almost 10 times more than our own foreign direct investment over the last 10 years. So we think that's a good model for us to be able to step away and take a slightly different path. The European version, which we've heard colleagues mention, is the Net Zero Industry Act, which we believe has also sent a very positive market signal to the institutional investment community. So this particular panel, we're going to be focusing on two things. How do we engage colleagues that have that expertise, that long-term perspective, as well as the balance sheets, to help us design that plan almost as a Sustainable Development Goals 17 collaboration. So I'm very pleased to have a number of colleagues that are going to work with us now to put together the investment allocation plan for the Africa Investment Earthshot. It's more like a consultation. We're going to be sharing some very high-level ideas about how we can potentially give the appropriate foundation for the Earthshot's investment allocation plan, and what type of process we can put in place to support what the sort of colleagues have set out. African Union heads of state will be briefed on this, and I can assure you, when the Honourable CEO puts something in front of the heads of state, they expect action, they expect delivery. So this is really, Honourable CEO, to let you see that you have a good and deep bench, if you like, of keen and supported institutional investors that will walk that journey with us. So, and who are they? Let me just quickly introduce them to you. We have Rich Newsom, who is the Executive Director for Investments at Mercer. He's a Global Chief Investment Strategist there. Morning or afternoon, round of applause, great. We also have Lucy Magessa, who is the Principal Executive Officer of the Government Employees Pension Fund of South Africa, which is South Africa's and Africa's largest pension fund. We have Dr. Vera Songwe, who is about to come onto the panel, but she's here and we recognize her. She's the founder and chair of the Liquidity and Sustainability Facility. We have Mr. Gunter Tallinger, who is from Allianz, he's now a board member, and he is the chair of the United Nations convened Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance, which represents the global institutional investment community representing over $20 trillion of assets under management. We also have Mr. Solomon Asamoah. Yes, thank you. We have Mr. Solomon Asamoah, who is the CEO of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. We have Mr. Ayman Solomon, who is the CEO of the Egyptian Sovereign Wealth Fund. I think we, at some point, will have Dr. Mo Ibrahim, so, is he here? I see, okay. Well, we're recognizing and let that be a welcome to come join us. Dr. Mo Ibrahim, who's the chairman of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. And we'll just finish off with Eric Crichton, who is the Director for Business Relationships at CDPQ. But I'd like to also recognize as well our good colleague from the NDC Partnership, the Global Director, Mr. Pablo Vieira. You know, we always talk about mobilizing investments at scale, but we need projects to be able to invest in. And that's what the NDC Partnerships represents and stands for.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.